what the heck is or are biomechanics? What does that even mean?
Yeah, so what is biomechanics? So biomechanics is the blend of biology and traditional mechanics. So when I think of mechanics, I think of gears, nuts and bolts, hardware, and it is like the understanding of how biological organisms kind of function on a joint, muscle, tendon, tissue level scale. So how does your shoulder joint work as you contract your deltoid muscles and bring your arm up sideways versus forwards. And those are like the same muscle group that's doing that, but how do the muscles branch out around the shoulder? What does that cause to happen at the joint? Where do those muscles insert onto the bone? All of those are related to biomechanics questions. And it's more than just the anatomy, it's also getting into the physiology of like how do tendons and muscles even work on a molecular or tissue level scale. And then also into the neurological side of, do you overtrain one side or the other because of dominance or tendencies? Do you have neurological issues in your spine or in your brain that could be changing how you're activating certain muscle groups one way or another? Or could there be something, in your past that maybe you've always done a movement in a specific way, and that's how you always do it, and you do it very well, but there could be other ways of doing that, maybe being able to activate more muscle fibers. All of those are related to biomechanics. It's a very broad field, but it's generally the understanding of how bodies move and can move.
If I'm a athlete, if I'm a baseball athlete or basketball player or playing tennis or golf or track and field, why would I care about biomechanics? How do I apply that to my sport?
I think some really cool parts of biomechanics in sports get down into how our bodies function at its core level and learning what you do best and what your body is optimized to do best. We've had for a long time, we've had this idea of what a perfect sprinter looks like, and that's usually short and stocky. And so they can move their limbs super fast and just get the highest cadence ever and be like in contact with the ground for longer periods of time so they can apply more force to accelerate forwards. But this one guy came along who was quite a bit taller than most other sprinters and just started winning every single gold medal and every title and world championship that he could. And that's Usain Bolt. And he completely redefined what sprinting is. And it was suddenly normal for us. I don't know how tall he is exactly, but he's over 6 feet. And understanding, oh, like you can do it as well with a different body style, with a different technique, and you can apply it that way as well. Understanding biomechanics can let you change the game. We literally studied Usain Bolt in some of my graduate level biomechanics classes. Like there were papers written about him and why does why can his legs move so much faster? And it has something to do with the force velocity curve, which I'm not going to get into, but just the way that we understand how muscles work, like they shorten in response to an action, and if that muscle is longer, then it's going to shorten faster.
So that kind of covers like the elite athlete portion of this.
Hmm.
Um, for youth coaches or youth athletes who might say, I want to improve my game, but I'm not Usain Bolt. How could biomechanics still be really impactful for even at the youth sports level?
Yeah, definitely going more broadly into how we can apply biomechanics in sports. This gets into the bread and butter of what Uplift does, but it's basically around how are you functioning mechanically? And are you able to transfer momentum or power from one portion of your body to another? And what we do, or what we look at the most frequently for that at Uplift is kinematic sequencing for rotational activities like baseball hitting or baseball pitching. And for those, you want to be able to develop a torque from the core portion of your body and transfer that torque up into the arm or to the bat so that that can be transferred to the ball. And traditionally, there's a very efficient way to do that, and you're going to twist fastest, in the core, so your hips and your shoulders, and then your arm is going to go next, and then the ball is going to go right after that. And that creates like a whiplash effect that you would, if you're cracking a whip enough times, once you get it down, you can generate a lot of force at that whip crack at the end with not a lot of input from your wrist or from your arm. And that is an analogy to the kinematic sequence effect. Where's biomechanics today? We've never been at a better time to be measuring athletes on the daily, on the weekly, on the monthly, at regular intervals, whatever interval works best for your schedule or for your training regimen. We are at the cheapest and easiest it's ever been to record someone's movements just from one or two smartphone videos. Before, I've worked in a lot of these types of labs before, and you would need 8, 10, 12, 15 cameras, all spaced at, certain intervals along the ceiling. And it's going to be $500,000 worth of equipment to measure someone walking or running. And now we can do that with a portable system that is easy to use and you can have up and running within minutes. Now, what this means is that you can capture how people move in more places and more frequently and easier ever than before. So you have more information on how they're progressing or how they're potentially pulling back. And the biggest application for this is going to be especially when they're training or when they're learning new pitches or new methods of applying their movement, whether that's a new batting style or working on an inside pitch or trying to get the exact spin rate and placement of a new pitch. You can track them the first day they try it, the next week that they try it, and see how they're comparing from their fastball to their curveball to whatever their new pitch that they're working on. And these are all going to be helpful in that athletes can understand exactly how they're moving at 240 frames per second. The ultimate goal is to give them better outcomes, keep the batter guessing of what that next pitch is coming. Don't be giving away any hints of whether that's going to be your changeup or your fastball.
Where does Uplift come into this whole conversation that we've been having about biomechanics in general?
Here at Uplift, we're trying to make measuring your athletes' biomechanics easier than ever. We are pulling out all the stops to make recording fast and simple. We've been quickening up our cloud processing so you can get your answer back in seconds rather than minutes. The new tools and features that we've added over the last 6 months to a year, we've really been trying to expand how do I understand all this information that's coming my way. And that's kind of my job as well. Like we get a data point, almost 30 data points in every person, 240 times a second across a wide range of movements. And it's a lot to break that down and understand what's going on here. What does the athlete want to see? What do they want to track over time? And at Uplift, what we've been trying to do is calculate all of those different events and metrics that are most important to the athlete and return that to you in a way that you can digest it when you need to know that your sequencing is incorrect. You need to know when you are not rotating fast enough for one pitch versus another, or you need to know if you're planting your foot too early, and that is impacting how well you can transfer momentum down the mound towards the plate.